assume that the Earth is flat is to
We're not going to assume shit.
It's not a belief. It's not a belief, okay?
Shit.
I didn't say belief. I said to assume.
It's
We're
a
not
fact.
assuming anything.
It's a fact. You go do observations and you find no curvature, okay, even on a big lake. So that's not a belief. It's a fact.
You cannot.
So you can cry about it.
We're
You
not
can cry about it.
assuming anything.
It's not a belief, okay? It's your problem, okay? You are not doing nothing to check if there's some curve.
Here is my belief.
It's your
Here's
belief.
my belief versus your
We don't have
truth.
beliefs.
How about that?
We don't have beliefs.
My belief versus your truths. Yeah, I'm accepting the fact that you accept this as the truth.
Truth versus belief.
Fire's hot.
You're already
100%.
automatically smoked right there and then.
Freaking hot.
Yeah.
100%. Anybody want to disagree with fire's hot?
How do you go against the truth, dude?
Truth. Fire's hot.
Yeah, but I
Because I'm
believe
talking
differently.
in hypotheticals. Because hypotheticals can still exist in a truthful world.
I'm talking about facts. I'm talking about facts, okay?
Yeah.
Well, then
You know
here's
what?
the fact. Nobody has found the edge of the world, but people have found space.
All right. Hey, listen, we literally just edge of space.
We went
No,
to
No, I didn't say that. You're putting where I said nobody's found the edge of our planet, but people have found space.
No. Where's the edge of space?
Where's the edge
I
of
know.
space?
I never said anybody found the edge of space. I
Well,
said
that's the
people
same
have
thing as the edge of the
not-
flat Earth.
How is
Gotcha,
that?
bitch.
Because in
Gotcha,
order for you to
bitch.
leave the edge of the flat Earth, that's how you would get to space.
No. There is no flat Earth in space. Stupid.
There's no
Leaving the flat Earth is like leaving the universe, which you can't leave. Newsflash. Nice try though.
Again,
So
he
thinks flat Earth is in the same heliocentric model. Come on.
Yeah,
What ignorant. What an
Is an
ignorant.
observation, not a claim.
Yeah, we can't leave the universe, bro. Can't leave the flat Earth.
Even Neil Nye did said that we are in a closed system. So you cannot have gas pressure without a container. So go figure out. Go do some experiment to show that.
Hey, crew. Hey, crew. Trust me.
Yes, sir.
Listen.
I've had a few beers, so I'm just in here to argue.
Yeah, crew.
All right.
Trust me.
Listen, learn something, bro.
What's your best globe proof?
Scientific.
That's what we're looking for. Nah, don't even do that. What's your best globe proof?
My best globe proof is that people have traveled across the world facing the same path and found themselves in the same exact other side of the planet, even though it was flat.
You know what that is? You know what that's called? Circumnavigation, right?
So they went around the edge of the world, not the middle part, but they went across Africa somehow.
Circumnavigation is going around something, okay? Go watch the definition.
Bro. Drink your beer.
You can go around an island.
Drink your beer.
Okay?
Circumnavigation is what it's called. So is that east to west or north to south?
I mean, assuming you're going east to west, if you're saying what you're saying is true, then you could never cross over Africa if you cross east to west. If you cross east to west.
That's not true.
Why you gotta go through Africa?
Because Africa's part of the planet.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't have to go through Africa. Like what?
But if you circumnavigate and you said, I want to start in Africa where this continent exists, and I want to land back in the same place, and I travel due east, I will land back in that same exact. How is that a circle around a flat Earth?
Bro, hold on. Listen. Think about it. Even if you're going around a globe, you're going in a circle.
Flat.
Yes.
Yeah. That's still a circle.
So is Africa on the edge of the circle then?
No,
that's what you're telling me.
Still going in a circle.
You're telling me that Africa is on the edge of the circle then. That's what you're telling me.
Dude, wait. What? Are you under the impression that people are trying to say that there's some kind of pizza planet space frisbee floating in a cosmic void? Because nobody's claiming that. That's not
He said yes. He said yes, chat.
That's not us, bro. You got the wrong crew, man. Damn.
Crew.
How can something be flat and not a fucking pizza in the sky?
Crew. Picture your table, right? A big old table, right?
I'm looking at it. Yeah, I got a big ass table in front of me. I got 4 monitors on it.
Yeah. Now, right in the dead center is magnetic north. That's where your compass points.
Yes.
Yes. So, anywhere on the table, touch your finger. Go east or west. You will circle that table and end up.
If I go east, I will fall off this desk.
No, you won't.
I said magnetic north. That means like
you can't tell me to go north and east at the same time. You
no, I
me
didn't
to go
say
east.
go north. I said
He didn't say that,
dude. Crew, listen, man.
I'm listening. Sorry, go ahead.
You got to take
no, you won't.
I said magnetic north. That means like
you can't tell me to go north and east at the same time. You
no, I
me
didn't
to go
say
east.
go north. I said
He didn't say that,
dude. Crew, listen, man.
I'm listening. Sorry, go ahead.
You got a table. You got a big old table. Dead center is north.
You got a compass?
That is your magnetic north. Now you got a compass.
So the compass points towards the middle of the table, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're
and as I move east, the needle should move counterclockwise to the center.
The needle's going to stay north. Remember that.
Yeah.
Not if I move east.
100% of the time, it's going to stay north, bro.
East or west.
All you got to do is take the compass and like make a circle around your table, and it's going east.
What if I'm not facing north? What if I want to face east?
Bruh. You cannot get away from magnetic north, bro. You can't get away from it, man.
A compass
Can I give him an example, chat? Let me give him an example. Because the table's probably confusing him.
How would you know that you are traveling east?
Because if I faced east, my compass will still...
You want to compass to north, 90 degrees east. So if you go a little bit, your compass will deviate. You have to point it again to north and take another east. So you want to do circle.
So you're telling me that it's impossible to travel due east? That's what you're telling me?
No, dude.
You can only travel.
Let me help him out. Because the table's probably confusing him with his finger and stuff.
Because you're trying to say that the needle doesn't move. You're trying to tell me that north, south, east, west, the rotation part, the numerical and the number parts move. And that's not how a compass works.
Dude. Take a deep breath. Let me help you out. Let's convert your table into the room you're in. You're in a room right now?
I'm in a room.
Okay. Let's imagine
I will move to the
for a
center
second.
I'm moving,
just take a deep breath.
To the center of the room right now. I'm in the center of the room.
In the center of the room, there's a pole in the middle. Let's drop a fireman stripper pole right in the middle.
Right in the middle. Hot ass strippers.
Boom. North Pole right there. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. I'm in the center now. This is where Africa is.
Okay, you're in the center. Your back is to the pole. You're going to walk in a straight line.
Which way?
Any doesn't matter.
Towards the pole.
That straight line, your back is to the pole. You're gonna walk in a straight line to the wall. What direction are you headed? What direction are you headed? Let's imagine for a moment, this room is the entire Earth. This is everything that exists. Nothing exists outside of your room. This is everything. We have north and the center.
I see what you're trying to do here. I see what you're trying to do here.
Well, let's walk through it. North Pole's in the center. This pole in the middle, that's the North Pole.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna walk in a straight line towards the wall. What direction are you headed?
I see what you're doing.
That's south. You're walking south.
No, you aren't, because any direction that you walk if you're standing at the North Pole, even though there is a north, south, east, west, until you move a certain distance away, you're traveling every direction. You're traveling north, south, east, and west until you get a certain distance away, until you start facing, until you get further enough away, right?
I'm going to walk you through it.
Okay.
So the North Pole's in the center. All the walls around you would be south. So if you're going to take your back to the pole and walk in a straight line towards the wall, you are now heading south. So let's go to the wall and we turn around.
But I've got four walls.
Relax. Yeah. They're all south. Yes. Correct. In this example, the North Pole's in the center. There is no South Pole. Every direction away from north is south. So if you head in a straight line from the pole to the wall, let me walk you through it. You got to take a deep breath.
There is negative and positive, though.
You got to take a deep breath, my guy.
Okay.
You walk to the wall. You're heading south. Now you're gonna head straight back to the pole. That is going north. You're heading towards the North Pole. right? The pole in the center, that's the north. You're going to the North Pole. So now, if we're going straight to the walls is south and going back to the pole is north, how do we go east and west? East and west would be going around the pole in a circle in either direction. One direction would be east, other direction is west. This is how, if you're trying to figure it out how it would work maybe on a flat earth, there you go.
That doesn't.
So when you say, listen, when you say circumnavigation,
yes,
you're just going in a circle. So put yourself in anywhere in the room that's not on the wall. Let's just pick a random spot. X marks the spot on the floor. And you go east around the pole. You come right back to where you started. Boom. One direction, east. Now let's go west.
Your house.
Let's go west. You go west around the pole. Boom. Right back where you started. In a circle. One direction.
Around the stripper pole.
Around the stripper pole. You went one direction. Now think about it on a globe. Let's go back. Let's flash back to the globe. You take a globe, you go around the globe, and you come back where you started. You just went in a circle. So it's no different. It's no different, flat or globe. You just go around in a circle. You come right back where you started. You're not cooking. Just want to let you know. You're not cooking. Just want to let you know. You're not cooking when you say, "Oh, I went around and I came back to where I started." Yeah, works the same thing on a flat earth. You just did it in your room.
It doesn't work that way because my room is not 8 stories tall. If I wanted to go to my third,
it doesn't matter how many stories tall it is.
It is because you're trying to tell me if I walk around, if I walk around the North Pole.
Yeah.
You're telling me the North Pole's in my room right now is what you're telling me.
Mm-hmm.
The North Pole exists everywhere, and that there is no North Pole. The North is everywhere. That's what you're telling me. You're telling me the North Pole.
What are you, dude? Are you hearing things? I am
because I want to go around the world.
Hold on.
I want to go around the world.
Listen,
but I only want to cross Africa. I don't want to cross Russia.
You're Africa, dude. Listen,
I want to cross Africa, India, Central America. I do not want to cross Russia.
Relax.
There's only one way that can be possible on a flat Earth,
dude. We just told you, if your room is the flat earth, for example, your room is the entirety of reality. The North Pole's in the center, the walls are your south, you go around a circle, boom, east or west, you came right back to where you started, you just went in a circle. Perfect. It's no different than whether it's a globe or flat. You just go in a circle and come back where you started. Boom. You're not really cooking. Nice try, though.
I agree to disagree.
There's no disagreeing. You just did it in your room.
I went around the world in my room and I crossed Africa. You're right.
There's no Africa. You could just draw Africa on the floor. Let's just say you just draw a little weird shape of Africa on the floor.
Yeah.
And then you go around. You came right back to Africa. Nice try, though. This is very easily possible on a flat earth. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you're also taking in consideration that there's no depth to the flatness that you have. So how
you're trying to say that you can't go around in a circle on a flat earth? We just did it. You're done.
I did not.
We just did it. Literally,
Africa that I just drew on my floor. I cannot
come back to where you started by going in a circle in one direction. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, it's a 2D object that I'm rounding. It's not a 3D.
Your room's 3D.
You're right.
You're not a 3D.
But the picture that I drew, I'm in a 3D world, my friend.
Hey, man.
Yeah, so is your room.
Why don't you just...
Flat Earth is not 2D. Flat Earth is 3D, too, all right? It's
Thank you.
What the fuck?
It's like on either model.
Yeah, so is your room.
West,
your room's 3D.
On either
but
model,
he told me to draw Africa and go around it, and I can't do that if it's
you don't
2D.
go around Africa. You don't go around Africa. You go around your room.
Dude, why don't you just draw a picture and post it for us?
What the fuck?
Clearly,
that's what I'm saying.
Check your DMs. I sent you a
and
picture.
I explained it perfectly before him, and you just don't get it.
Yeah, the table works on a table.
Like on either model, there is no... I mean, you can go like dead reckoning west and like to your right, but west is really just clockwise and east is counterclockwise on either model. You're going to be going in a circle, so that's the trick. They're
not really cooking,
thinking it was a ball.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're good, Dave.
No, not you. You're definitely cooking. You're definitely cooking.
Cooking, man. You're cooking, Dave. Keep cooking.
I was going to say something to this guy actually when I was listening on YouTube, and he said something really wise. Actually, he said, "Never assume anything." Right, and you're right about that. Right, but you assumed that we think there's an edge, or that there's an edge to flat Earth, or you also assumed that they must be telling you the truth about the ball. Right, those are all assumptions. But let me ask you this: if you're sitting in a chair, do you have to believe you're sitting in a chair, or do you just know you're sitting in a chair?
I have to believe.
Why?
What?
If you're sitting in a chair, you're sitting in a chair, bro. It's your direct experience. You can confirm that to yourself. It's not a belief.
It's not though, because I could be sitting. I could be sitting on a box, but is that a chair?
What
It's not. I just sat on something.
Are you high right now?
You're assuming. You're assuming because you're assuming that it is a chair, but I can still sit and it not be a chair, right?
But my question was, you're sitting in a chair. Your chair.
I call it a chair.
Yeah,
it is. It is. I guess it's a chair. I mean, it's a box, but I mean, I'm sitting on 2 egg crates. But
like the back of your head is flat.
Okay, let's say it's a box. Do you know you're sitting on that box, or do you just believe
it's a chair to me? I believe it's a chair.
Okay. Whatever it is, you know you're sitting, right?
Well, knowing what I'm capable of doing is not knowing what the capability of what the planet is.
I'm drawing an analogy. Let me just work with this. Listen, it's your base axiom. It's your direct experience. You don't have to believe it, right? We don't believe anything about the Earth other than what we can confirm to ourselves. For everyone, it's stationary and level. That's our direct experience, right? That's your base axioms. We're not claiming anything about an edge or how far it goes out or how flat it is or any of that bullshit you assume we think, right? So it's not about knowing it's flat in this construct that you've been fed by the mainstream media about what flat Earth is with the edge and the water falling off of it, which is a way of making it look stupid so people like you think we must be stupid.
Whoa, I don't think you're stupid. I came into this chat so I can hear other people's intentions and beliefs.
Awesome. I'm glad you don't.
I mean, if I thought y'all were...
It would be stupid if there was an edge, right? To the flat Earth, and they could just fall off the edge of the flat Earth.
No, I said hypothetically. That's the reason why I said don't assume anything. That's why I said hypothetically. If the world was flat and everybody started off saying it's not a hypothetical, it is what it is. It's an assumption based on facts that you guys believe in, but you're not willing to hear the counter.
You don't know what we believe.
But that's the reason why.
But my point was, you share that direct experience. We all experience it as stationary and level. You don't feel like you're spinning, and you do not see curvature. That's all you can know. Right? So we looked into the globe model and we falsified it. We found out it's not true. It literally, scientifically, cannot be what they're telling us. That's the research that we did that you didn't do yet. Right? So the first step is realizing and finding out that the ball model is bunk. It does not work. There's nothing about it that works.
But it does.
Everything
about it. Everything about it doesn't work. There's scientific. There are flat earthers. There are flat earthers who have this is a fact. Who have done experiments, not assumptions. Experiments where they have been able to go and try and beam a light across 2 miles, and if it's straight, then it would hit the same exact point where it should be. But the fact that
you saw the Netflix special that tried to make us look stupid, and now you think we're stupid.
I never said anybody was stupid. I don't believe any one person is stupid. That's my God honest belief. I don't give a damn what anybody says.
That were proven wrong on the Netflix special, that they were proven wrong, and they went to Antarctica and they were proven wrong. It's the same dude, right? The same guy.
Did I call them stupid? Did the word stupid ever leave my mind?
Might as well, bro.
No.
Get rid of the word stupid, man. I'm just saying, you're assuming from things that you were fed by the mainstream media and Netflix that flat Earth is something you don't even know.
Now, you're standing on one side of a number, and I'm standing on the other side of that number, and that number just so happens to be 6 from my perspective. Yep. That's what I'm telling you.
Flat Earthers.
From your perspective, it is a 9. At the end of the day, I'm not saying that you are right or wrong or stupid. I said I wanted to hear your beliefs.
Just say it.
I'm not choosing.
You have a fundamental misunderstanding as to the nature of this conversation.
Forget I accused you of thinking we're stupid. Forgive me for that, right? I'm just saying that they make it look stupid in the mainstream media. Okay, I don't mean.
Okay, well, I get mainstream media.
I was complimenting you. I came in complimenting
you. You kept on saying you think we're stupid.
No. I came in complimenting you for saying never assume anything. That's something a flat earther always says. Because all we can really directly know if we're sitting in a chair is that we're sitting in a chair, direct experience. All of our direct experience is a stationary level Earth. That's our direct experience.
And that's the reason why when
know.
I came in, my question was, well, if the Earth is flat, then why isn't there an edge? I didn't say that. I said,
Sure. Okay, I
said
That's cool.
hypothetically, if the Earth is flat.
I got it back. I
How
take it back.
come?
But the thing is that's something we get hit with a lot of times where people are like, oh, you must be stupid. You fall off the edge. You get it, right? You get why I said that.
I do, and I do 1,000%. I do. That's the reason why that there's like things where people are like, well, we found, hundreds and thousands and millions of exoplanets in other places, but we can't find the 9th planet in our solar system. But I believe it exists. I believe that there's a larger 9th planet outside past fucking Pluto that we have not been able to find, because it's harder to be able to analyze what's directly in front of your face sometimes when you're looking at everything else around you.
It's really hard to let go of all the space stuff with the planets and all the theories that we've been fed. We all thought it was crazy when we first got the flat Earth. We all rejected it.
Yeah.
So wait, can I ask you guys this? No, if I ask you guys this, I gotta ask this. Do you guys, as flat earther believers, believe that there is no space then? Do you think that there's a firmament?
Oh, that's the other. Wait, hold on.
There is no space. What is the universe? You're the stars.
Wait, hold on. Wait. A lot of flat earthers. You might hear flat earthers say space is fake or there is no space, but that's also an assumption. We don't know what's out there, right? We can see the stars, we can see whatever it is they're calling space, but what they're telling us about space, we know isn't true. We know that because we're not on a planet, bro. It's stationary. Would you be so surprised if you found out the reason that you do not feel like you're spinning is because you're not spinning?
Not spinning.
I would not be surprised if I found out that we were living on a hard drive somewhere that we just aren't capable of understanding.
People tend to go to simulation theory when they get confronted with this. They want to like jump into we're in a virtual world. It doesn't even matter if it's flat. Might as well just be anything.
No, I didn't say it doesn't matter. I said I would not be surprised if I found out we lived on some futuristic hard drive.
Impossible.
Well, if it was a simulation, bro.
I don't believe that we are a simulation. Right. I don't believe this is a simulation.
If it was, though, listen, if it was, it's a simulation of a stationary level Earth.
I like what you said there.
Because that's what we figured out, dude. We found out.
But I still don't believe that we're a simulation, though. No, I still believe we have free will.
Yeah, but belief is like the enemy of knowing, right?
I guess that is true. That is
shout out to Lunchables Heaven.
Yes.
Boom.
That's a mic drop right there.
And belief is the enemy. Right there. Belief is the enemy of knowing, bro. Isn't that a bitch? Ain't that?
Got that from Crow 777.
Crow, shout out to Crow. Love you, bro.
Shout out to Crow.
Love Crow.
W Crow.
So yeah, I jumped in because I heard people saying we know it's flat, and you probably assume that they think they know how far it goes and all the things that we've been all fed about this idea of a flat Earth and the disk in space and all that. It's not a disk in space; it could be an infinite plane. If I had to bet, I'd say it might be an infinite plane. Right?
Question. Do you think in the essence of flat Earth that it is more like two papers combined together with no rounded top?
Two papers. No, like it's not 2D. It's not 2D, dude. There's terrain. That's the other thing.
Not 2D. There's no. I mean, like,
bro. It's got terrain, right? It's not even flat.
I mean, I don't mean in the aspects of mountains and valleys and the terrain itself. I just mean as if you were to connect two pieces of paper, an 8x11, and you connect those two edges together. Do you believe that there's no curvature to the top and bottom side? That is the way you're able to go north, south, and east, west?
Well, no, we just know that it's flat as far as like, the colloquial term of flat, right? Just a stationary plane. But we're not going to try to like believe something that we can't know, right? We don't know how far down it goes or, up is just like, whatever it is that's containing the gas. Right? Because we have gas.
That's what I'm saying. So the belief is that there is no rounded top. It's just there's no flat, belief. But it connects like a Mobius strip, but not one Mobius strip in the sense of 4D.
We can speculate about all that. That's speculation. But to believe it, then you're putting all your eggs in that basket, and even pushing things that are beliefs are what got us into this problem, right? People were pushing things onto us and telling us to believe it, when it was the opposite of our direct experience.
So how many people would need to travel completely around the world, longitude-wise, from different aspects of the world would it take for you to see or determine, not see, because I make an assumption by saying, to determine whether or not it is a sphere or a flat piece of piece together?
Hey,
Well, how do we know that?
Let's get this straight. There are
longitude,
longitude
and latitude.
Wait, listen.
Different parts of
Linda.
the flatness.
Listen, Linda. There are long observations over water that dispute the radius of Earth.
Yeah, we haven't.
Water's always level, bro.
Yes. This is called the Flat Earth Channel, 24/7. So let's get down to Earth. We measure Earth flat.
I like that.
We measure Earth flat. Long observations over water, which is level, flat.
You fill up your bathtub, the water's level, right? It's always flat on top, right? Water. They tell us it's about 70% water. So how could it be 70% water and be a ball?
Gravity?
Well, that's the thing.
We're still forgetting about
gravity. No, but see, gravity is something we've looked into heavily. Like we've all had tons of gravitation is one thing, right? And then there's the weight of things. When you lift up your leg, do you feel a force pulling your leg back down, or do you just feel the heaviness of your leg? Right? There's no suction cups, right? There's no force keeping us here, right? There might be a tendency, which could be a lot of things, electrostatics or whatever else, but they call it the ground because we live in an electric world, right? Everything's electric, right? And the ground is called a ground because when you ground something, that means that's an electric reference, right? There's a universal up and a universal down, right? That's what they don't want us to know. They want us to think there is no up and down.
Hey, guess what, Dave? All airline pilots treat the Earth as flat, stationary. Man, did you know that?
Yeah, I don't know if
they don't actually. They use two different. Measurements. They use sea level, and then they use two different instruments to determine their distance between what's considered sea level and then the distance between the height of the terrain that they're over. So they use two different measurements.
Since you know something about airplanes, let me run this by you, okay? You know the globe model enough, right? You know the globe model enough to know that they say it spins about 1,000 miles an hour at the equator.
Yeah.
Right, and then it tapers up, and it's supposed to be like 0 at the poles. So in between there, every latitude's 100, 200, 300, 400 until it gets up to 1,000, right? So they say that the ball is literally spinning at different speeds depending on where you are on the ball, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And so, and you also know that the idea behind if you jump up in the air and then you land back down on the same spot, well, they say, oh, you're already spinning. Like, say you're at the 500 mile per hour latitude. Well, you're already spinning with the Earth. That's why you landed in the same spot. Like if you had a helicopter and it went up and hovered, well, they say the helicopter was on the Earth spinning at 500 miles an hour. That's why it stayed in sync with that spot that it took off from. It's called conserved momentum. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Right. So if you have the conserved momentum, right, and you take off in a plane, let's say it's actually a plane instead of a helicopter, right? Now the plane, right, is going to fly west-southwest, right? It's flying against the spin, right? But it's still going to get to the equator where it's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, right? Now, all pilots, they admit on both sides of this argument, ballers know this for a fact, all pilots always treat the Earth as stationary, right? They're never told anything about curvature. They're never told anything about motion. They're all just told to fly and land as if, in quotes, it's stationary and level, right? All flight simulators, if you ever played on a game that has a flight simulator or the real ones that they train the pilots with, it's just a stationary level environment, right? But when that pilot gets to the 1,000 mile an hour mark where he's going to have to land the plane as if it's stationary, how is the plane going to be moving in sync with the 1,000 mile an hour rotation? It only had 500 miles per hour conserved momentum. So where's the extra 500 come from?
The higher you are away from the planet, the speeds make a difference. So if I'm traveling 500 miles closer to the Earth, I am traveling relative to 500 miles closest to Earth. If I am outside of the Earth in a dim atmospheric
That's a problem to begin
if I'm
with,
in a
right?
different atmosphere, no, because it's the same way as if a track star runs on a track. The person who has the inside lane on a track always has the advantage over the person who has the outside
That's
lane.
a great example. That's a great example. Now, if the person on the outside of the track is running at 1,000 miles an hour, and you can only run at 400 miles an hour, are you ever going to catch that guy running at 1,000 miles an hour?
It depends on the width of that track. Because if that person has to travel 2 miles from the outer distance, that one person has to travel half a mile, and that person is traveling 1,000 miles per hour, but that other person is only traveling 250 miles per hour, you will reach your destination at the same exact time.
Right. No, but listen, you're on the right track. Pun intended,
I'm telling you, that's not the right track. That's the right thing. If they're literally four times the distance from you and 1/4 the distance from you, they only have to travel 250 miles per hour around that distance that's closest to that central part.
Dave.
Yeah, you're helping me.
While the outer person has to travel 1,000 miles.
Help you out, bro.
Right. So if the city you're flying towards in the plane, right? The city you're flying towards is moving at 1,000 miles an hour, but your plane can only fly at 400 miles an hour, right? How are you going to catch the city that's moving at 1,000 miles an hour when it's straight across from you when you started off? It's going to be moving fast.
The
even if you could catch them, even if you
on a track, on a track, you're not dealing with difference between atmospheric pressures and things. So in the higher you go in the atmosphere, you deal with different interferences.
All right, let me just say a few things before you come back in, bro. Okay, the atmosphere is the air, right? And the air is going to move the plane as a wind, right? So winds go in all directions, any direction, right? It could be really fast westward, it could be really fast northward, southward, east, depending on the day, depending on the conditions, depending on the air pressure, depending on how high you fly. Now, even if you were in a helicopter and you went straight up at that 500 mile an hour latitude, there's no mechanism to push the plane with the air to make it be in sync with the Earth at that latitude, right?
Then what are the engines doing on that plane if there's no mechanism?
Listen, real quick. The engines fly the plane forward. That's all the pilot ever has to worry about, right?
Yep, and then he uses slats and his thrusters.
You can't fly the plane backwards, right? Thrusters and everything, right?
Correct.
But the plane's not made to fly backwards, right?
Correct.
Right. So if it's facing west, right? Facing against the spin, right? When it gets to that 1,000 mile an hour rotation, how is it going to stay in sync, flying backwards with the Earth as it slows down to 0 miles an hour to land on a landing strip, facing against the spin?
By utilizing more fuel and energy. If you were to actually go and look up if you were to look up a plane ticket from Maine to California, you will find that going from Maine to California is going to take longer than going from California to Maine because you have the wind pressure from the wind stream from the direction that the Earth is spinning.
Okay, so you're saying
these are given. Why does it ever? If the Earth is not spinning,
flights shorter. Are you saying the rotation of the Earth makes it slower or faster? Depending on the direction you're going?
The direction that the plane is going can change the speed at which you get to your destination.
Okay,
so if you were to just Google a trip from Europe to California, you will find that going from east to west will be longer than going from west to east because the planet rotates. So if you go and fly in the direction that the Earth is rotating, you will get there faster. If you go against it, you're not only you're fighting against the wind that is being created by the planet, but you're also going against the counter speed of it rotating against you.
Hey, okay, let me tell you, I'm glad you know a few things about this, but the thing is, it would be convenient for flat earthers if what you said was true, because they don't claim that it's rotation that makes that short. It's because of a jet stream, right? There's jet streams that go in both ways, right? So if that's the reason those flights are either shorter or longer, because they utilize the jet streams, and the jet streams are just caused by temperature and air pressure, and that's caused by the heat of the sun, has nothing to do with rotation. They don't try to claim it's rotation. It would be great if they did, because then we could say, great, that means the Earth is separately spinning from the plane, and all we have to do is put a camera out the window and show the Earth is spinning separately eastward from the plane moving eastward. But the reason you can't do that is the planet isn't rotating. It's not a planet. We're not rotating at all. But you haven't answered the initial problem, bro. It gets to the equator, right, where the planet that we're supposedly on is supposedly spinning 500 miles an hour faster than where the plane took off from. And it went west-southwest against the spin the whole time. And it can't fly backwards. And it's landing facing against the spin on a westward runway, right? It's a eastward facing runway, so he's landing facing westward. The plane would have to be moving backwards with the rotation in perfect sync so that the pilot can just treat it as stationary when it lands. So that debunks the globe.
I could fly from New York to Siberia.
Planes land every day without doing anything.
I could fly from New York to Siberia in a single flight.
That has nothing to do with what I'm trying to get.
Hear me out. I'm getting to your point, and I'm making that point.
He's going to make your point
from New York
again,
to Siberia.
Dave, let him make it for the third time. He's
only been helping me out every point he's tried to refute. Go ahead.
He's gonna bring it the house
using that same analogy and bringing New York all the way down. And you want to check out the alignment of the United States map, you'll find that from let's see, let's pull that up. We're not the United States, the world map. World map, not the globe.
And level regardless of altitude.
World map. Go ahead. You got a world map, McCater?
Let me tell you something first. I argued this with a CERN physicist, right? And he turned into a babbling idiot. A CERN physicist could not answer this. He just. I'll send you the link.
Some people just get flustered too easily.
No. I've argued with hundreds of people on this by now, right? And there is no answer to this, bro. There is no answer.
Yeah, You're right. That I will 1000%. There is no proof whether or not the world is flat, or if it's a globe, or if it's a baseball, or
there is not. Planes prove it. Because planes land as if it's stationary every day, and they wouldn't be in sync with 1,000-mile-an-hour runway when they get to the equator from the North Pole or from anywhere in between. They could not land and treat it as stationary because the Earth would be literally spinning faster eastward than the plane would ever be moving or could ever move as it's slowing down to land in the opposite direction. Planes prove we're not on a spinning globe. It proves
so. Then Einstein's theory of relativity is not a theory. It is.
It has nothing to do with that, dude. Planes land every single minute of the day, and they prove the Earth is stationary because pilots treat it as fucking stationary.
Then